Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallamu taslima. Wa ba'd. What is the greatest sin? We know that the greatest sin, according to our Islamic traditions and according to the teachings of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, is shirk. When we think about shirk, we think about this false worship, worshiping another god or so-called god, worshiping an idol, right? Worshiping many gods, whatever. And so many Muslims are conscious of this, and they're very much on guard over shirk. But that's the major shirk. There are different types of shirk, as we know. The scholars have identified three types of shirk. There's the major shirk, which we already talked about, which is the false worship. And then there's a minor shirk, which comes in a few different forms, like swearing by something other than Allah, or believing things like amulets will protect you. But one of the most dangerous ones for us is showing off. It's dangerous because it's subtle, it's hidden, and so in many cases, we don't even realize we're doing it. So you're doing good deeds, not for Allah. You do it to show off. And so you extend your prayer so that other people can say, oh, look at this guy, he's praying so much. Or you tell people, hey, I'm fasting today. And in your heart, you're doing it because you want other people to know that you're fasting. Now, of course, if you're doing it with the right intention of maybe encouraging others, that's fine. The scholars say that's fine. You're trying to encourage. It's all based on your intention. But if you're doing it to show off, that's a type of shirk. It's a minor shirk. It's called riyah. And it's a disease which many Muslims have in their hearts. And so in a way, you're trying to please other than Allah through your actions of ibadah. Give charity so that somebody can tell me I'm generous. So that somebody can say to other people, he's generous, she's generous. And there's actually somebody who will come on the day of judgment, as the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon us, told us. Allah will ask him, what did you do with your life? What did you do? What did you do to please me, to worship me? And they'll say, I gave in charity for your sake. And he said, you lied. You gave in charity so that you can be called a generous person. And you got your reward in this life. And Allah will say, then go to hell. Take him to hell, because he was doing it not for my pleasure, he was doing it for other people's pleasure. Same thing with the person who taught others. And he said, no, I taught other people knowledge to please you. He said, no, you lied. You did it so that people can call you a knowledgeable person. People can call you a scholar, and you got your reward. So now go to hell. Take them to hell. And then likewise with somebody who fought and died in the cause of Allah. And they'll say, I did it for your sake, Allah. And Allah will say, no, you lied. You did it so that you can be called a martyr. And now, go to hell. And so this is the minor shirk that many Muslims unfortunately do, and many of them don't realize it. And so we have to be on guard against that. But there's a third type of shirk, which is called the hidden shirk. It is so hidden that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, described it as being more hidden than a black ant crawling on a black rock in a pitch black night. I don't know about you. I've been in those pitch black nights before where there's no moon, there's no lights, in the middle of wherever, not near any kind of light source. You would hold up your hand in front of your face and you couldn't even see your hand. That's how dark it is. And so the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, is painting us this picture of how hidden this type of shirk is. And what is that hidden shirk? I want you to understand, this is the whole point of this khutbah. This hidden shirk is described by a scholar, Sheikh Abdullah bin Muhammad bin Humaid, who said that the hidden shirk implies being inwardly dissatisfied with the inevitable condition that has been ordained for one by Allah. Consciously lamenting that had I done such and such, I would have had a better status. What does that mean? That means that if something happens to us, whether it was a result of our choice or not, that we feel sad and we say to ourselves, or we say to Allah, or we say to somebody else, had I done something differently, my situation would have been better. That's the hidden shirk. Think about that. And how does this relate to our whole topic? Our topic that we're talking about is Islam as a stress relief. Islam as true submission in an effort to achieve peace. And here Allah is giving us, Islam is giving us the 6 prescriptions laid out for us in the 6 articles of faith. And the last one is what? Qadr. Believing in the divine decree, destiny. But here, if you're lamenting, if you're feeling sad over something that happened to you, which is fine, you can feel sad. Something bad happens, to whatever degree, we feel sad, that's fine, you're a human being. But if you say to yourself, oh, had I zipped up my jacket pocket, I wouldn't have lost that money. It wouldn't have flown out of my jacket. Had I locked my car, it wouldn't have been broken into. Had I not married that woman, or had I not married that man, my life would have been better. That's the hidden shirk. Because what that's doing is you are saying that you could have changed the decree of Allah. Do you see? And we cannot do that. Because whatever happens in the past, it's part of Allah's decree. It's destined for us. And by the way, I'm guilty of it too. We all are. One example I can give you in my life, something very small, very trivial. There was a big meeting that we had for work. And we had to drive 3 hours to go have this meeting. And I had to prepare a presentation for it. 30-page presentation, printed in color, bound, everything. And I put it by the door. And I said to myself, before I leave, I'm going to make sure I bring it with me because this is really important. We're making a big presentation. I have to have these color copies with me. As Allah willed, I walked right by it out to my house on the way to the meeting. Got in the car, started driving. An hour into the drive, I realized I forgot it. It's back home. I can't turn around because I'm going to be late for the meeting. And at that moment, I said, why? Why did I do that? Why did I forget? Why didn't I put it in my car the night before? And then I caught myself. And I said, wait a second, what am I doing? This is Allah's will. This was meant to be because it happened. So we're all guilty of that. And that's fine. You can react in the moment, but we have to catch ourselves. We have to rely and go back to our faith in the Qadr. And when you do that, stress relief. You don't hold on to that feeling inside of you, that anxiety, those feelings of regret. And that's the problem, is that we live in the past. We're human beings, and unless we remind ourselves constantly, this is part of dhikr, this is part of why we pray, part of why we fast, to remind us that Allah is in control, that we have this beautiful belief in Qadr, that everything that happened in the past, meant to be. Maybe it's a test for you, and you could not have changed it. And when you have this belief, it relieves so much stress off your shoulders, so much burden, because it was part of Allah's decree. You have nothing to do with it. Now, some people may say, well, does that mean you go into the future and you say, don't worry about anything? No. No, because we don't know the future. And so you buckle your seatbelt, you tie your camel, you make the effort to not repeat the previous mistake that you made before. So if something happened, let's say you get a divorce because of some situation with your wife or your husband, that was Allah's will because it already happened. Even if the divorce happened as a result of your own action, part of Allah's will, because it already happened. But going forward into the future, which is not known to you, you can say to yourself, I will try not to repeat that same mistake. And so you can learn from your past, that's fine. But even if you do that, you still may repeat the same mistake. Allah's will, again. But the problem is that so many people who don't keep this in their mind, don't keep this idea in their hearts about qadr, about Allah's decree, it brings them so much anxiety and so much stress because they felt like they could control it, and they can't. And this is what I wish I can give to my family, to my mother, to my father. And I look in their eyes and I know they're stressed over so many things. Why am I not feeling that stress? The biggest difference is belief, is true belief that when something happens, it's by Allah's will. Even if it came through my hands or my choices or my decisions, it was Allah's will. We can react in the moment. It's okay. You can have emotions, but eventually you catch yourself. And the best of believers, the ones who are most conscious of Allah, they don't even do that. They know instantly Allah's will. Allah's will, whatever it is. I lost a child. I lost a lot of money. My house burned down. I made a wrong turn and I crashed. I did something that led to somebody's death. Yes, you feel guilty and you feel bad, but you don't hold on to that anxiety. And that anxiety is what brings you down. And look at how much heart disease there is, and how much cancer there is in the world. It's not something that just happens in a vacuum. These things happen, yes, because of poor eating habits, yes, because of poor lifestyles, but they also happen because of the stress that we bring upon ourselves. And this is what Islam is. Islam is that stress relief. If we really understand, it's not only a stress relief, but it's a big part of it. Islam, if we really inculcate it and really implement it and really truly try to live it, it minimizes your stress and your anxiety and brings you closer to what we want, which is peace. Peace as much as we can possibly attain in this life, which we know is not going to be ultimate peace because that's for the hereafter. But we can at least strive for as much peace as we possibly can. Now, with all of this said, believing in destiny does not alleviate us from responsibility. It doesn't mean it's okay to just sit back and be content with things like injustice or evil taking place in the world, saying it's all been predetermined. What Allah wants is effort and action, knowing that whatever is meant to be will ultimately happen. But the point is that we're content with the outcome, whatever that outcome is. Now, some people may say, well, then what's the point if everything's predetermined? This is a conundrum and a debate that I'm not willing to get into, because we have to live our lives and we have to make decisions. And the most important thing to remember, in my opinion, is that we don't know the future. And so we should do the right thing. Strive to fulfill our Islamic obligations. Pray for guidance, and then make the decisions and take actions we think are best. And then whatever happens is meant to be. And we don't hold on to guilt, regret, and anguish, which will lead us down the road of sadness, anxiety, and maybe even depression. Just let it go, because Allah is in control. So we ask Allah, oh Allah, please bring us towards that peace as much as possible. Please Allah, grant us the contentment in our hearts. Forgive us for any time that we felt a type of discontentment with your plan. Please Allah, help us to implement these 6 articles of faith in our daily life, and let these 6 articles of faith lead us to willfully and gladly and happily practice the 5 pillars, because we know that these 6 articles are the motivation for us to bring us closer to you, to want to pray, to want to fast, to want to give in sadaqah, to want to strive to please you. And so please Allah, we ask you to guide us, forgive us, help us, bless us, and bless all of the Muslims and bless all of the believers, and guide those who are truly seeking you and seeking paradise. Ameen. Aqimus salah.